Occurred the 10th of July 2008, 1700 location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, sphere. Duration, 10 to 15 minutes. Characteristics: there was an aura or haze around the object, a small black orb, slowly floating in a straight line down the road and then straight up. I was a child, only about 8 or 9, which may be unconvincing, but the 4 adults that were there still remember it to this day. We all used to sit on my parents' porch, hanging out, when we all saw a strange, black orb come floating straight down the street. It was not a balloon. Balloons aren't perfectly round, and they don't float in a perfectly horizontal path. They would float in a mostly diagonal path, with the wind taking them wherever it takes them until they pop at a certain height in the sky or fall back to the ground. This particular orb floated straight down the street until I had run up to it. As any curious kid would, I tried to grab it, reaching out my hand about a foot away from it, and it just started going straight up into the sky. It was not affected by the wind at all, no matter how high up it had gone. Eventually it became so small in the sky that one of our neighbors went and grabbed a pair of high-powered binoculars, and we all traded them back and forth, watching it go all the way past the clouds until we just couldn't see it anymore at all.
Occurred October 15, 2008, 1930 location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, rectangle. Duration, rectangular-shaped object hovering on northeast side of Indy while driving south on US 37, Binford. Around 7:30 p.m. I noticed a rectangular-shaped object hovering, then move east slowly and at an irregular pace. It must have turned 90 degrees, because then it appeared to be a thin line. I didn't see any lights, but it was solid and appeared silver. It kept heading east, hovering, then moving slowly, and disappeared behind trees. I was so tempted to follow, but I wasn't really sure what I was looking at. I was headed to a fitness class and I didn't want to piss any aliens off. I really wish I had a camera with me because it was definitely unlike anything I've seen before. I always thought UFOs were supposed to be round or at least more aerodynamic.
Occurred October 18, 2008, 2000 location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, light. Duration, 1 second each. Characteristics: there were lights on the object. The object left a trail. Strange yellow lights streaked across the Indiana night sky on Saturday evening, October 18, 2008. I was in Indiana driving on Interstate 65 heading northwest from Indianapolis towards Gary. I witnessed 2 similar phenomena occur twice within a half hour or less of each other. Not being too familiar with the area, I don't know exactly where I was located, but for the first event, I'd say I was between 25 to 50 miles northwest of Indianapolis, and for the second, maybe 50 to 75 miles northwest of Indianapolis. For the second sighting, I'm reasonably sure that I was located no more than halfway between Indianapolis and Gary, most likely closer to Indianapolis. Giving a generous estimation, I'd say both events occurred between 7:30 and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's more likely that they occurred between 7:30 and 8:30, but I wasn't paying close attention to the time. I saw each time a single streak of yellow light occur in the northern sky heading north-northwest. Each event lasted about 1 second each, moved extremely fast, and seemed to travel a great distance, assuming they were as far away as they appeared. They looked to be pretty far away, but I could not accurately guess the number of miles. The streaks were not directly overhead, but they were closer to being overhead than they were to the horizon. They appeared to be as long as a pencil when it's held at arm's length away when they completed their streak. There was a definite movement of the light. That is, they did not appear immediately as a solid line. They began as a point and streaked across a portion of the night sky, as if someone had drawn a line with a yellow marker. As soon as the lights reached a certain distance, they faded immediately. There were no stars in the sky, and that, coupled with the fact that I saw it twice, led me to believe that they were not shooting stars. It was not raining, nor was there thunder, so I'm sure they were not lightning streaks. They appeared out of and returned to nothing, it seemed. They were both very unnatural-looking phenomena. This is my first report of a sighting. I thought these events were strange enough to deserve reporting. I'd describe myself as being agnostic towards the existence of extraterrestrials. I don't not believe in them.
Occurred, October 24, 2008, 22:20 Location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, light duration, 2 to 3 minutes. Characteristics. There were lights on the object. There were aircraft in the vicinity or aircraft chasing the object. On October 24, 08, I observed 10 to 15 orange-colored lighted objects floating or flying on the northeast side of Indianapolis. I am a police sergeant, and while on duty on Friday, October 24, 08, at approximately 22:20 hours, I observed about 10 to 15 amber-colored lights floating or flying upwards. I was parked in a downtown parking lot facing north when this occurred. I initially observed 3 lights spaced pretty equally apart, but at slightly different altitudes. Because of the downtown horizon, I was unable to ascertain if they were coming up from the ground or just a slightly lower altitude. These lights appeared to be coming from the northeast-east quadrant of Marion County, about 10 miles away from me. After noticing and watching the first 3 lights, I observed 3 or 4 more about 20 to 30 seconds behind, ascending in the same manner as the first 3. I then observed approximately 6 to 8 more of these objects floating or flying upwards from the same area. After getting so high into the sky, the objects disappeared. There was a cloud cover on this night, as we did have rainfall off and on. I am not sure if the lights or objects just burned out or I was unable to see due to the clouds. The puzzling thing was that the clouds were going from west to east, and these objects were floating upwards from east to the west, into the wind, but only at a very gradual change. Because these objects were going into the wind rather than with the wind, I quickly dismissed them as balloons of any kind, but I could be wrong. I have never seen anything like this before, but there could be a legitimate reason for them. I am just curious what they were. I did watch the 6 a.m. newscast when I returned home from work and did not see any mention of the lights for legitimate or unknown purposes. I did email the Indianapolis Star to see if they knew what the lights were, but so far I have not received a response. I also observed what appeared to be a commercial aircraft heading towards the lights, but the lights had cleared its path by time the aircraft arrived in the area. I would suspect there was a good possibility the aircraft pilots observed these lights as well. The aircraft was going from the west to the east, I assume leaving Indianapolis. INTN, Airport. Several hours later, when I returned to that spot, where I sit until a run comes out, I did observe what is mistakenly called a shooting star in the area. This one appeared to be closer and brighter than ones I have seen in the past, but this could just be coincidence. I just figured I would report it in case anyone else had seen it and no explanation could be found for the light's presence. I also attempted to take cell phone pics and video of objects, but on review you cannot see them due to poor camera quality on cell phone.
Occurred, October 25, 2008, 21:30 Location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, fireball. Duration, 15 minutes. Characteristics. There were lights on the object. 8 UFOs appear as silent orange fireballs in northeast Indianapolis, Indiana. I was on the north side of Indianapolis driving west on 86th Street. At College Avenue, I saw 4 orange fiery lights in the sky. The lights were headed north-northeast. I turned north on College to follow the lights, which were hard to track because of trees. I turned east on 91st Street and pulled into an apartment complex to get out of the car and watch them as I called a friend to come to meet me. The sky was dark. The UFOs appeared as orange fireballs and moved in complete silence. The 4 fireballs were headed north-northeast toward US 31. We were about 80 miles south of Grissom AFB. As soon as the 4 UFOs were out of sight, I looked back and saw 4 more come from the same direction. They were not flying in formation, but all proceeded north-northeast. A friend caught up with me in time to see the last UFO, which, as he said, hovered and lowered and then took off fast enough to disappear before his eyes. I didn't see the last UFO because a tree was blocking my view.